Episode 5. The Angkor Empire. Power, Faith, and Fall. History never stands still. Upon the solid foundation of the indigenous civilization that we explored in the first episode, a new wind began to blow from the west. But this was no ordinary wind. It was a tempest of ideas, a revolution of faith, carrying with it powerful gods and philosophies that could change an entire worldview. It came from India. This was not an invasion of territory. This was a revolution of the mind. The question is, how could these ideas conquer a vast region without a single war? And from the miraculous fusion of native culture and Indian civilization, what glorious empires were born from the cradle of history? Welcome back to Episode 2, Dawn of the Dynasties. Part 1. The Empire's Genesis, from Chenla to the proclamation on the Sacred Mountain. Our story begins from the ashes of the Funan Empire. Around the middle of the 6th century, a northern vassal state named Chenla rose in rebellion. Under the leadership of the brothers Jayavarman and Mahendravarman, whose real name was Chitrasena, Chenla gradually conquered and replaced Funan, mastering the Mekong Delta. Under King Jayavarman in the early 7th century, Chenla reached its first peak of power, with its capital at Sambor Prey Kuk, a magnificent complex of brick temples. However, this unity did not last. By the end of the 7th century, Chenla had split into two parts: Land Chenla in the northern highlands and Water Chenla in the southern coastal plains. Water Chenla, the old center of power, fell into a state of fragmentation and chaos. More importantly, it seems to have fallen under the influence or even the domination of an external power, the mighty Sailendra kings of Java. Arab chronicles even tell a story of a young Khmer king who arrogantly wished for the head of the Javanese king, only to be punished by an invading Javanese fleet. Amidst this chaos and foreign control, an extraordinary figure appeared who would change history forever. He was Jayavarman II. After a period of exile or captivity at the Sailendra court in Java, Jayavarman II returned to his homeland around the end of the 8th century. He was not just a warrior, but a political and ideological genius. He realized that to build a lasting empire, the Khmer needed complete independence and a unifying ideology. He gradually conquered and united the quarreling petty states. And then, in the year 802, a fateful event took place. Jayavarman II performed a sacred ritual on Mount Mahendra Parvata, modern-day Phnom Kulen. Here, with the help of a Brahmin priest, he declared himself a Chakravartin, a universal monarch. More importantly, he established a new cult, the cult of the Devaraja, the God King. According to this doctrine, the king was not merely a secular ruler, but the earthly incarnation of the god Shiva. A royal linga was established, symbolizing this divine connection and the permanence of the kingdom. With this ritual, Jayavarman II accomplished two great things. He declared the complete independence of the Khmer people from Javanese domination, and he created a political religious ideology that would serve as the foundation for the unity and absolute power of the Angkorian kings for the next 600 years. The Angkor Empire was born from that proclamation on the Sacred Mountain. Part 2. The Great Builders, Foundations of the Hydraulic Supercity. After Jayavarman II's death, his successors continued his great legacy, but they faced a major challenge: how to feed a growing population and a massive state apparatus in a land with a harsh climate, featuring a long dry season and a monsoon season of floods. Their answer would turn Angkor into one of the most unique super cities in history. The king who laid the foundation for this revolution was Jayavarman I, who reigned from 877 to 889. He was a great builder, but his most important construction was not a temple, but a colossal artificial reservoir, known as a baray. The Indraditaka baray he built was an extraordinary feat of hydraulic engineering, capable of holding millions of cubic meters of water. It not only provided water for domestic use and irrigation during the dry season, but also helped control floods during the rainy season. This complex irrigation system was the economic backbone of the empire, ensuring food security and generating the massive surplus of wealth needed to build other great works. In addition, Jayavarman I was also a pioneer in the construction of stone temple mountains, a hallmark of Angkorian architecture. The Bayon Temple, which he consecrated in 881, was the first temple mountain built entirely of sandstone. symbolizing the sacred Mount Meru of Hindu cosmology. He also built the Priya Ko temple, dedicated to his deified ancestors. His successor, Yasovarman I, reigned 889 to 910, was even more ambitious. He decided to move the capital to a new, more expansive area, which would later become the center of Angkor. Here, he built the first capital city named Yesodharapura. The center of this city was a natural hill, Phnom Baking, upon which he built his own temple mountain. And to supply water to his new city, he built a baray even larger than his father's, the eastern baray, Yesodharapura. By combining a large-scale hydraulic system with the construction of symbolic temple mountains, the first kings of Angkor not only created a stable economy, but also shaped a sacred space where the earthly capital was a reflection of the divine cosmos. The foundations for the glory of Angkor had been laid. Part 3. The Sun King and the Cosmic Temple, Suryavarman II and Angkor Wat. Over the next 2 centuries, the Khmer Empire continued to grow through ups and downs. And then, at the beginning of the 12th century, a great king ascended the throne, one who would leave humanity with one of its greatest architectural legacies, Suryavarman II. He reigned from approximately 1113 to 1150. Suryavarman II was a mighty warrior who conducted military campaigns against the Cham to the east and the Dai Viet to the north. But his greatest legacy lies not on the battlefield, but in the monument he constructed, Angkor Wat. Built over a period of nearly 40 years, Angkor Wat is the pinnacle of Khmer architecture, a perfect masterpiece of balance, grandeur, and exquisite detail. Unlike most other Angkorian temples which were dedicated to Shiva, Angkor Wat was dedicated to the god Vishnu, and it was also intended to be the funerary temple for Suryavarman II after his death. The temple is oriented to the west, the direction of Vishnu, and also the direction of death, which further reinforces the theory of its function as a mausoleum. The entire structure of Angkor Wat is a miniature model of the Hindu cosmos. The vast surrounding moat represents the primordial oceans. The enclosure walls are the mountain ranges that encircle the world, and the 5 central towers, with the tallest soaring into the sky, are the 5 peaks of the sacred Mount Meru, the center of the universe and the home of the gods. But what truly brings Angkor Wat to life are the hundreds of meters of bas-reliefs that line its galleries. This is a library in stone, recounting the greatest stories of Hindu epics. The most famous is the churning of the ocean of milk, a mythological tale of the struggle between the gods, Devas, and demons, Asuras, to obtain the elixir of immortality. Other reliefs depict battles from the Ramayana and Mahabharata, as well as scenes of King Suryavarman II himself holding court and leading his armies. Angkor Wat is not just a temple. It is a statement of power, a hymn to faith, and a human attempt to recreate the cosmic order on Earth. It is the immortal legacy of the Sun King, Suryavarman II. Part 4. The Great Builder, Jayavarman VII and the Faces of Compassion. After the death of Suryavarman II, the Khmer Empire fell into a period of chaos and civil war. Taking advantage of this weakness, the Khmer's traditional enemy, the Kingdom of Kampa, did the unthinkable. In 1177, a Cham fleet sailed up the Mekong River and across the Tunnel Sap Lake, launching a surprise attack and sacking the Angkorian capital. It was an unprecedented national humiliation. At a time when the country was on the brink of collapse, a prince rose up, gathered forces, drove out the Cham, and reclaimed the capital. He ascended the throne in 1181 and took the name Jayavarman VII. He was one of the greatest kings and also one of the greatest builders in human history. Unlike his Hindu predecessors, Jayavarman VII was a devout Mahayana Buddhist. His entire reign was a phenomenal effort to rebuild the country and to heal the wounds of war with Buddhist compassion. He commissioned the construction of a new, greater capital city on the ruins of the old one, Angkor Thom, the Great City. The center of Angkor Thom is a unique temple mountain, the Bayon. Unlike the perfect symmetry of Angkor Wat, the Bayon is a labyrinth of stone towers. And at the top of these towers are more than 200 giant stone faces, smiling with a mysterious and serene expression. These faces are believed to be the representation of the Bodhisattva Avalokiteshvara, but they also bear the features of King Jayavarman VII himself. It represented a new ideology, the king was no longer the incarnation of a distant Hindu god, but a living bodhisattva who watches over and protects his subjects with his compassion. Jayavarman VII's building campaign did not stop there. He built the Ta Prohm temple in honor of his mother, identified with Prajnaparamita, the bodhisattva of wisdom. He built the Priya Khan temple in honor of his father. He established a network of 102 hospitals and 121 rest houses along the main roads of his empire. The reign of Jayavarman VII was a period of construction on an unprecedented scale and speed, a phenomenal effort to turn the entire kingdom into a land of well-being and prosperity under the light of Buddhist law. Part 5. The Long Twilight, the Decline and Fall of Angkor. The reign of Jayavarman VII was the final peak, the last brilliant flash of glory for the Angkor Empire. After his death around the year 1218, the empire entered a long and irreversible decline. The reasons for this collapse are complex. Resource exhaustion. The colossal building projects of Jayavarman VII may have exhausted the human and material resources of the empire. Maintaining a massive system of temples and officials created an immense economic burden. Religious change. After Jayavarman VII, succeeding kings reverted to Hinduism, and later, a new religion, Theravada Buddhism from Sri Lanka, began to spread. Theravada Buddhism, with its simpler, more egalitarian ideals focused on individual salvation, undermined the Devaraja, God-King, ideology that had been the foundation of the Angkorian regime's power. Environmental problems. There is a theory that Angkor's complex hydraulic system, after centuries of operation, began to fail, or that unusual cycles of drought and flood disrupted its delicate balance. External pressure. A new and more dangerous enemy had appeared to the west, the Thais. The rise of Thai kingdoms like Sukhothai, and especially Ayutthaya, created constant military pressure on Angkor's western frontier. Throughout the 14th and 15th centuries, wars between Angkor and Ayutthaya raged continuously. The capital of Angkor was attacked and sacked multiple times. Finally, in the year 1431, after a long siege, the army of Ayutthaya captured Angkor Thom. Although the Khmer kingdom was not completely destroyed, the event of 1431 marked the end of the Angkorian era. The Khmer royalty was forced to abandon their great supercity, which had been the heart of their empire for over 600 years, and move their capital south to the region of modern-day Phnom Penh. Angkor, the city of the gods, was gradually forgotten by the jungle, becoming a lost empire waiting to be rediscovered centuries later. The story of Angkor is an epic saga of human ambition, faith, and creativity. They turned a swampland into one of the most brilliant civilizations on the planet. The legacy they left behind is not just temples of stone, but also a profound lesson on the rise and fall of empires. The collapse of Angkor created a new power vacuum on the mainland, paving the way for the rise of the nations that would shape the map of modern Southeast Asia: the Thais, the Burmese, and the Vietnamese. Thank you for watching. Goodbye and see you in the next episode of the History of Southeast Asia series.